President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day, his giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally.
I'm down $7 million. Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand them. I don't. And everything's in the shitter because of it.
Donald Trump's painful, unnecessary, and ever-escalating global trade war may cause him to face a full-blown MAGA mutiny in short order. These tariffs are prompting public backlash from major MAGA influencers and supporters, people like Ben Shapiro and Dave Portnoy, conservative TV finance analyst Jim Cramer, and even elected Republicans. And we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to play in this video, but I'm going to start with this guy right here. That's Ben Shapiro, as you well know, probably the most famous conservative political commentator, conservative influencer who's unelected outside of Elon Musk, guy who went viral and famous for owning the libs on college campuses, a guy who presents himself as a principled conservative who initially opposed Donald Trump and then over time just sacrificed his principles on the altar of Trump for political expediency. We'll get into all of that. But this is a 67-second compilation, so it's just a bunch of cuts from various things he said during a recent hour-long episode condemning the Trump tariffs. It gets pretty harsh.
Yesterday, President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day, his giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted immediately more than 1,000 points. The S&P 500 plummeted more than 3%. The NASDAQ plummeted almost 4.5%. There are real-world implications for this sort of stuff. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan. It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh. Again, those are clips from an hour and a half long episode in which Shapiro lays into the Trump tariffs. Now, we got other things to say. Dave Portnoy put a clip out where he talks about the millions of dollars he's lost as a direct consequence of the Trump tariffs. We've got some clips from Republican lawmakers. Again, some things to look at, but I want to focus on Ben Shapiro here. As I pointed out on Twitter, Ben Shapiro, principled conservative, admits that Trump, a man whom he endorsed, donated to, voted and campaigned for, just, quote, unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally, slapped Americans with one of the biggest tax increases in history. In parentheses, I put, Ben will continue to support him. And then in a follow-up message, I said, two things to remember. Shapiro admitted in his debate with Lex Friedman and liberal streamer Destiny that he, quote, grades Trump on a curve. And number two, he was ready to secede from the union, basically, over Biden's student loan and vaccine policies, and because some Democrats wanted to pack the court. And this is really what I'm focused on real quick with Shapiro before we move on again to Dave Portnoy and others, which is that Shapiro is a Harvard-trained lawyer who says he's a fiscal conservative who wants to cut taxes, not increase them, and he supports the Constitution. He's a proponent of the Constitution. And here he admits that the guy that he supported after initially opposing just unilaterally and unconstitutionally created the biggest tax increase in history. If a Democrat had done that, if Joe Biden had unconstitutionally and unilaterally given Americans the biggest tax increase in American history, what would Shapiro be saying? Shapiro would be depicting Biden or the Democrats as the second coming of Satan or Hitler. There would be no universe after that point where Shapiro would be gracious or generous or charitable. He would condemn them, and he would say that nobody should support them. But he'll continue to support Trump, even though Trump just unconstitutionally and unilaterally, in Shapiro's own estimation, just raised everybody's taxes by the biggest increase we've ever seen. It's because he grades Trump on a curve by his own admission. You should see, I think we did a video about it, that debate he had with Destiny as moderated by Lex Friedman. He admitted he grades Trump on a curve. That's unprincipled. It's irrational. It's stupid. You should hold politicians to the same standard, Democrat or Republican. A president's a president. You should hold Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden to the same standard. That's the only rational way to approach it. Anything else is what Ben Shapiro would call affirmative action, where you're grading in what is in your mind, in any other context, a substandard, unqualified candidate on a curve to get them over the finish line. That's precisely what you're doing for Donald Trump. What you think affirmative action was for various minorities, you're actually applying that same methodology and that same mindset to Donald Trump. If you were upset when Joe Biden wanted to forgive student loans and then his student loan forgiveness plan was struck down by the Supreme Court and he complied with the court, he obeyed the court, and then he tried a different approach, which has since been challenged, which is his right to do, but he obeyed the court. When President Biden proposed that OSHA policy in which companies with employees of more than 10,000 or more than 100, would have to either vaccinate their employees or test them or pay a fine, 3 options, and it was struck down and Biden obeyed it. That was enough for you. How dare you? How dare you even attempt those things? Even if you back down when the courts strike them down. How dare you even be part of a party that talks about packing the court, which is not unconstitutional. It's perfectly constitutional to change the size of the court. Ben Shapiro was totally condemning of the Democrats. But here his candidate, his preferred political candidate, the guy he basically co-signed the Trump candidacy, unilaterally and unconstitutionally just raised everybody's taxes to an unprecedented degree. Shapiro's calling that out, which is good. It's worth noting. But Shapiro will continue to support him, which is also worth noting. The hypocrisy and lack of principle. So let's turn to Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports, another major Trump supporter. He's not happy about these tariffs either, and he's been personally affected by it.
I almost tweeted out, Dave, how much are you down right now and today? 7 million. I'm down $7 million in stocks and crypto. And it's tariff city. Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand them. I don't. Like, it's more a trade deficit tariff to me. Like, hey, we get this much shit from you and you get this much from us. Let's even that up. Let's get some wacky formula and do tariffs. And everything's in the shitter because of it. I almost tweeted out.
So again, a very wealthy, very privileged guy, an outspoken Trump supporter, just lost $7 million. Again, I'm not weeping for him by any stretch because there are people who are less privileged than he is and who also didn't support Trump, by the way, given that Trump campaigned that he would use tariffs. And so it's not exactly a surprise unless you expected that Donald Trump was a liar and wouldn't do what he said he was doing, in which case then you're also screwed because you're effectively admitting that you're backing an inveterate liar. So either way, you look like an asshole. I digress. The point is, these people are publicly calling Trump out for the predictable stupidity that he has wrought. He campaigned on it. One thing I'll say about Trump when it comes to this tariff shit, he wasn't hiding the ball on this. He was very open that this would be a consequence of him taking the White House. But it's not just Dave Portnoy and Ben Shapiro. You also have elected Republicans like Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. He's not happy. I want to play 2 clips from a Fox News interview he conducted earlier today.
Surplus, but we're $2 trillion away from balancing the budget. So from my standpoint, I'm certainly concerned about what's happening right now in the markets. And I hope the administration is looking at that as well.
You should be concerned. You absolutely should be concerned. But I don't think the administration is paying close attention, at least at the moment. Here's another clip from that interview with Fox Business's Stuart Varney.
What President Trump is initiating here, this is a long-held belief that he believes that tariffs will correct those problems. But what's also indisputable is the markets are down about 8% in just 2 days. And I'm getting all kinds of reaction from businesses, farmers in Wisconsin that are highly concerned about what's happening. So those are the facts. I don't know, all I can really do is kind of report the reality to the administration, let them know, how these actions are impacting my constituents. And it'll be pretty much up to President Trump and his administration to determine exactly how long they're going to go down this road, when they can start negotiating with our trading partners. Obviously, some gains, $5 to $6 trillion of investment has been committed. That's what President Trump claims. Some of our trading partners have lowered tariffs. So I just can't predict how this is going to turn out here.
So Wisconsin, the state he represents, is a swing state, so he's worried because, of course, these tariffs are impacting everybody. That's why Ben Shapiro and so many others are freaking out. They're worried not only about their own personal finances as wealthy, privileged people, but also the potential lack of political support for the Republicans in the future as a direct consequence of this. Johnson's a coward because Johnson is a member. Johnson doesn't work for Donald Trump, and this is where I think somebody has to go back and explain civics to these Republican losers. Ron Johnson, you're a Republican senator, and if you're watching, first, like and subscribe, please. Number two, Donald Trump is not your boss. He can't hire you, he can't fire you. He can certainly put pressure on you. He's certainly more powerful than you, no doubt about it. But you are part of a separate branch. You're part of the Article 1 branch, which actually comes before the Article 2 branch, which is Trump's branch, the presidency. You are a member of the branch which is actually supposed to be, in the words of the Founding Fathers, quote, necessarily predominant. You are part of the more powerful branch, meaning if you and your Republican colleagues wanted to, you could crush Trump's tariffs. You could legislate them out of existence. You could say, hey, we're putting an expiration date on this asshole. I'll give you some wiggle room here, but past a certain point, you are done. You could do that. You could do that. You and your loser party are actually in charge right now. You could find it within you. You could spare your businesses and your farmers this. You're not helpless. You are choosing to be helpless, which is not the same thing. At any point, it's like, oh my God, my hands are bound. No, they're not. There's no rope there. You're holding your wrists together, pretending that we won't notice. We have. And hopefully Democrats are making your constituents aware of that too, that you are choosing not to exercise your leverage and your power because you're a coward and a loser who should be made fun of. One last person, just again give you a smattering of this, is Jim Cramer. This is what he had to say after being really happy with Trump, at least on the things that Trump was saying on the campaign trail and being optimistic. He's not happy either.
What the heck is going on?
Well, I'm let down because I'm not a free trader. I'm a fair trader, always have been from the days when you worked with me at CNBC.
Yep.
And what I was hoping was that a coordinated thing where if you are charging us 20%, we charge you 20. Instead of a car where we're only making you pay 2.5 and you're not letting us in, we try to get things better. But instead,
on a specific thing, you go, if they're 10 on a car, you go 10 on a car.
But I went deep on the numbers today, and the numbers do not make any sense. And I was actually.
I was doing like bananas in Vietnam. You did Cramerica.
Well, I just said, it's one of these things where if I'm doing 100 billion and you're letting me do 10 billion and I'm letting you do 100 billion, there was a way to be able to make it work. But the numbers that they did, and they had this ridiculous. I mean, that was the chart that they had with the mathematical equation. I mean, are you kidding me? How about just like
it looked like an Einstein.
I know. How about the fact that it was just wrong? Yeah. And what bothered me, Aaron, was that they really did over and over again. The president said, "Listen, it's going to be reciprocal. So you do it, we do it," and that was going to be so good. And I really believed in it. And I feel like a sucker tonight. Because I am not a free trader, and I do not believe in free trade. And I was just as tough, if not tougher, than his people. But they screwed it up, and they did it a totally ill-advised way. And I was very let down as someone who really, truly believes that free trade is awful for the American working person. This is what they came up with. Jeez, come on, have some gumption, have some math.
So there you have it, folks. Again, just a sample of the various MAGA corners. MAGA influencers, conservative traders, and financial analysts, elected Republicans, all reporting in that this has been a total shit show. And we're 2 days into it? It's not looking good. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.